Okay, welcome back to our sofa corner, and as you can see, we're having our new guests, fantastic guests, representing our sponsoring partner, Brown Brothers Harriman. I saw you yesterday as well, Kasia, a team, so maybe before we even get into the exact topic on inclusive leadership in action, and we will talk through specific examples and success stories that you're bringing. Tell me, how was it yesterday? How was it for you? What workshop did you attend?
For me, it was really dynamic. I was really very engaged. By the end of the day, I was quite tired. I was surprised at how much engagement I had in the sessions. I was on a session about how to foster programs, what works and what doesn't on particular programs, sharing information, and then I was on how to deal with crisis situations, more about the mental health aspect. So really quite powerful sessions. So
Okay,
it was a great day.
Good to hear. And speaking of role modeling, earlier, Kasia, what about you?
I attended one of the sessions that Tim did on programming, and it was really interesting to see how other companies from the industry are approaching DEI topics. It was very insightful. The other one that was super interesting for me was about neurodiversity with Kuba Słowik. I've seen him in action before, and it was really great to see him again. Super insightful, super energetic, and again, the power of these events is exchanging ideas, getting inspiration. So I felt definitely inspired.
Okay, very good. Positive outcomes, learning outcomes. Okay, so let's kick off the official segment. I know that you're coming to us with your success story, and the focus of the conversation is on inclusive leadership, which has a very high priority in your organization. And I want to explore a bit on that, starting with, I think, the beginnings or basics. And I'm looking at you, Kasia, with the first question. As we think about DEI in your organization, the importance of it, the impact of it, how did it all start for you? How did the journey start?
I don't think we can talk about starting as such, because I feel that in BBH we've always had inclusive mindset, and it's just part of our culture. So DEI, even if it wasn't labeled as DEI in the past, it was always there. So with time, I think that we saw the need in certain locations, situations, and again, depending on the situation, we saw the need to start putting those practices, those daily practices, into actually programs and structured frameworks. Well, for Kraków, because we're here today, it was probably at the very beginning when we opened the office in Kraków, in Poland, and we are now fully frameworked, if I may say so. We have loads of structured programs around DEI in terms of education, employee networks, and so on and so forth. But for me personally, it started on day one. With my role as HR business partner, it's actually part of the deal to work with the leaders on a daily basis and try to facilitate DEI behaviors. And on the other hand, as an employee, I'm also part of various projects and networks. I'm part of Women Network. I'm leading Diverse-Ability Allies Network in Kraków. So there's no starting point, I would say. It's just what we do. It's just who we are.
And continuation.
Exactly.
Continuum.
Yeah.
And you are a busy woman, Kasia.
Yep.
Concluding what you said, full-time job. How about you, Tim? You're managing the center, and I wonder what's your leadership perspective onto introducing and prioritizing DEI for BBH and BBH Poland, and also what's your personal take or definition of inclusive leadership, what it means to you?
So one of the things for us is it becomes an imperative because our business is very much global. Our clients are global, our workforce is global. the vendors we work with, they are all around the world. So it is really, our success is predicated on our ability to recognize differences that arise from that, acknowledge them, and eventually capitalize on them to bring forth really creative, innovative solutions that serve our clients at the end of the day. So for me, the business impact is really very, very clear. The more inclusive our culture is, the more that we can collaborate across difference and deliver service excellence for our clients. On a personal perspective, I mean, for me, I've had the opportunity through different phases of my life, whether it's being a student in Austria a long time ago, to my first work experience also in Austria after graduation, and then eventually coming to Poland and working with teams here and eventually leading teams here, gave me different perspectives on what it means to be sort of an outsider in a culture, what it means to be sort of a leader in a culture, to bring new culture to a group of new people, and then to reflect back what I'm hearing from those to the global organization. And so that has really given me a lot of different perspectives. Maybe the most valuable is really how my culture is perceived from the outside. And that was really, from day one, a huge learning for me and something that really eventually changed my life.
And you're originally from?
The United States.
United States.
Yeah, the
Which,
United
which
States.
city?
Boston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Boston.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think like those experiences have given me a unique perspective that allows me to build trust with both the global organization and my local teams here, that allows me to collaborate, to advocate for local needs, while also bringing global perspective to the local.
Yeah. And in addition to that, you're also bringing your really experience as a traveler, as someone who explores or keeps exploring diversity and inclusion, and not just in your managerial role, right? And that's extremely valid, I think, and it makes you more authentic as well as a leader.
I think that when Tim was talking, I just realized that the global aspect is so seamless. Actually, we no longer notice that we work with people from different locations across the globe, because it's just part of what we do. So that's just my personal insight on this.
The aha moment that we're having, that we are now registering, and I think we could have a whole separate segment on your experience, Tim, as someone who comes to Europe and Poland and is experiencing diversity and inclusion as an outsider, as you mentioned. Hopefully, you're more insider now
Yes.
than outsider. Right, specifics. And now it's the time for us to talk about the real experience that you have provided to the teams, something that makes you proud as an organization. What have you incorporated? What specific initiatives that makes you proud and that makes the inclusion high on the radar?
So I'll take this one. So I think foundationally, really it's about raising awareness of a variety of topics that are in the diversity, equity, inclusion sphere. So whether that's our ERG, which we call bank groups, those initiatives and events that we host around particular topics that are resonant for our employees, or webinar series that we do locally or globally with thought leaders from different areas. So, for instance, Kenji Yoshino, the author of How to Say It. I can't the name. Sorry, I missed the name of the book.
Inspiration.
But basically, he was talking about how to foster inclusive conversations in a way that's very respectful, even in this new dynamic, new environment. So. That's an example, and so that's open to all employees, and everyone's really encouraged. And then taking that awareness and then bringing practical examples to people of how that can impact their day-to-day. So, for instance, we have an inclusive leadership program that we've rolled out to all 400 senior leaders across the globe. And that began with an assessment of inclusivity that sort of gives an idea, and I think Jennifer talked about this, around this continuum of leadership, leadership, and beyond that, taking it to the next level, which bringing the leaders together into groups, workshopping different scenarios. So it could be an example of a recruiting process where feedback is coming back from different people on the continuum, and then having people in groups role play different aspects of people in that continuum.
Yeah.
And through that exercise, bringing forth, there are different perspectives to come in. They are all to be valued, but allow us to sort of respectfully talk about what we're seeing so that we can come to the right decision ultimately that continues to foster inclusivity in our decision making.
So real scenarios, like focusing on a very specific behaviors in different contexts. So really providing an opportunity to leaders to practice reality, right? How to manage the real situations, the real challenging situations. And what you also mentioned, Tim, and I really appreciate this, bringing the external perspective onto things. This gentleman that I cannot, the name I cannot recall, that you have mentioned. As an example of an external voice that is also critical to building diverse and inclusive culture.
I also think that what probably differentiates us in a way, but we feel it's very important that the leaders are actually involved on a daily basis in our ERG networks. So the way the networks are structured is that there's always senior leadership involved as a sponsor or a lead of a given group. And it's not only formal sponsor, a name on the mailing list, but these people are actually engaged on a daily basis, and I'm talking about senior leaders, about partners who work with ERGs across the globe. And what's super powerful, and it was also one of the takeaways from the session yesterday about the programs and what works, what doesn't. So sharing personal stories. And they actually have the courage to step up and to do that and to share what brings them to a particular network. And it's a very powerful message to the employees, creating this psychological safety to actually share, open up, and be the true selves.
And experience that in reality, look how many questions we've already got and how many conversations were centered around authenticity, right? And even a question from earlier segment, what can we do as leaders to create an authentic feeling, not impression, feeling that it's all true, you know, that it's not just something written or listed, but it's a real experience. And that's one of the examples, like be active, be the role model.
And I think you know, for me, even looking back on our journey over the decades or so, having senior leaders or anyone in the organization talk about their personal stories is really powerful. It's not easy, and it's not something that everyone has to do, but having those examples really sets a tone for the organization and shows people everyone. There's this aspect is so broad. It touches everyone in a different way, and so I think that those are really powerful. And then to the point of senior engagement, no matter what's happening, whether it's an ERG event or training, be present as a leader. Take the extra time to be present. That, at a minimum, goes a long way to show the support that you have for the employees who are putting forth that extra effort to be engaged and drive these things forward, and also shows everyone it's important enough for senior leaders to take time out of their day to do that. So it goes a long way.
And really, we talk minimum. Sometimes these minimums, like absolute foundational things, can be overlooked because it's just something simple and something tiny, and as you say, it's minimum, yet critical. question, probably the last one, unless we will have a question, a time to address a question from the audience. But so many successes, so many great examples, and such a progress that you have made as an organization throughout the years, without a starting point, as you mentioned, Kasia. So as you continue to be on this continuum, what's the future look like for BBEH Poland? What's on the horizon?
Maybe I'll take this one first. So for sure, it's not a project. DEI is not a project. It's just something that is an ongoing practice that we have to have, and we have to adjust to the circumstances. So, for example, for now, one of the hot topics, an emerging topic, is neurodiversity. So this is something that we're already looking into, and we start working on that, on making sure that we raise awareness. I think that generational differences and so many generations being present at workplace at the same time is also something that will be with us. So I believe that it's just making sure that we are alert, that we are aware of what's happening around us, and simply incorporating it into what we do.
And attentive, and keep being even more inclusive into including different dimensions of diversity, cultural, neurodiversity. So just making sure that you are not disconnected from the real needs and the changing context. What about you, Tim? Where are you going with your organization?
Well, I think it's about to topics like neurodiversity. So yes, raising awareness, having ERG-focused sessions on it, training sessions, incorporating into our talent and development, but also thinking about what do we need to do more? Do we need to think about how we design our workspaces? Do we need to give additional tools to people to be able to deal with some of these topics beyond just manager skills? So there could be a different way of organizing office space and things like that. So it's continuing to not only sort of cultural from a leadership, but how does this actually impact other areas of how we work, and making sure that we're adapting.
Yeah. Systemic look onto change and onto things. So the policy design, process design, environmental design, everything that at the end of the day creates or contributes to the employee experience. I need to ask this question since I'm even thrilled that we're having an active audience, online audience. Can we just scroll down a little bit and see the question on the small screen? Just a bit up. It's a request to the technical team.
We can be creative and answer the two
Yeah,
lines
Kasia,
that we see.
Bravo. I'm also kind of suspecting what's behind the question, but I think, okay. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the question is, what do you do to ensure that you're covering the needs of employees, diverse, cultural diversity of your employees? You're such a big company, you're a growing company, you're a global company. How should the needs of different employees, different nations be addressed in Poland? What's your view?
So and I think it's a really interesting topic. Neurodiversity is one, but I think from my perspective, what I'm seeing is there's a changing nature of the demographic of the workforce in Poland, in Krakow specifically. And I think that is probably an area where we have to focus on what that means for them, what that means for the entire workforce. So I think that's also an emerging topic. The employee dynamic and demographic in Poland is becoming more diverse every day, and I think this is sort of for me a newer area of focus.
Yeah, and I would say that communication is key. Sounds cliche, but it is. So as HR team, we're also responsible. I feel that we are also responsible for making sure that we communicate the local needs to our global teams within HR and also within our leadership teams, so that this let's say, uniqueness of the market in Poland or uniqueness of our office compared to other offices is perceived and actioned on. But each office, we are quite global, so each office has its own tweaks and nuances, and we just need to make sure that we talk about it.
And that we're equal, like in a
Oh,
big
yeah,
global
absolutely.
structures. Okay. So good news for you. Bad news is that probably we need to close the session, but the good news is that we do have a neurodiversity segment later on at the conference where we're going to talk about the practices and experiences from different companies on the topic. So you're most welcome to stay and enjoy the sessions and contribute to the sessions. So thank you so much for joining and sharing your success story. I guess I should end up with wishing you all the best. And hopefully the future will be optimistic and inclusive, even more inclusive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a
you.
pleasure.